So here's a collaboration listing that I want to talk about because we've received more information about it, but it's still a little bizarre. And it's that of the Tra-Gen Project Trooper 4. Now, this is related to the Transformers G.I. Joe collaboration project that we've already had before. We had a Hiss Tank Megatron with the Baroness. We had a Bumblebee Striker with Stalker. The Megatron was Trooper 1. The Bumblebee was Trooper 2. And now we're at Trooper 4 without knowing what Trooper 3 is. And considering that we also got more information of what potentially this Trooper 4 might be, what's even more bizarre is on the back of the packaging of every single one of these figures that we've gotten thus far, there was kind of like a teaser. So the back of the Megatron kind of teased that their sting is sharp. You know, what's a sting that is sharp? Oh, it's a bee. So then the next release was Bumblebee. And the back of the Bumblebee one, the only thing that you could really take away from it, because the full reading was, you know, satellite images reveal collaboration between the enemy and another hostile agent in disguise. Rendezvous at the motor pool for debrief. While there may be, and it's the more to meets the eye thing. More to meets the eye, knowing is half the battle. Nothing to take away from that one. And the only thing you could pull from that is, oh, you know, agents in disguise. Are they referring to the Transformers? Are they referring to the Cobra members that have disguise elements? You know, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I'll get back to that in a moment when it relates to what Trooper 4 is. Because if this is teasing at what Trooper 3 is, then we don't know at all what's going on. So from what we were told, and this comes courtesy of JT Prime 17, the information that we were given here is that the Tra-Gen Project Trooper 4, which is our G.I. Joe project, maybe not our next one, but one coming in the future because it is the fourth one here when we don't even know the third, it's going to be Generation 1 Soundwave. And it's going to be Generation 1 Soundwave sharing a design with the Dreadnoks Thunder Machine, the iconic Thunder Machine G.I. Joe vehicle. And it's very interesting that they made that decision because I don't really see a connection between the two. But then again, you know, what is Bumblebee with the Striker? Or Megatron with the Hiss Tank, sure. But maybe Bumblebee. So I guess it's them going like, we could figure something out with this. It definitely isn't for color reasons because, you know, the Hiss Tank is completely black and they still managed to make a G1 Megatron out of it with the robot mode. A Striker is completely green, and yet we got some yellow with the Bumblebee in there. And yeah, sure, there's some blue elements and some red elements that could kind of work with a Soundwave. I'm pretty sure they could just figure something out to make it look like a Soundwave. Just how is that final product going to look like? Supposedly the O-ring figures it's going to come with this time around is an O-ring Zartan and an O-ring Zarana. It's kind of a big deal there because Zartan has never really had a reissue ever in his O-ring form. And then on top of that, the original Zartan O-ring figure is notoriously one of the most difficult figures to fix when the O-ring breaks because there really isn't a way to do it because of his color change gimmick. You have to break the figure and then glue it back together. It's a whole story. Usually it's not easy to do with screwing the back. If you're a G.I. Joe collector with the O-rings and the degradation of those over the years for 40-year-old G.I. Joe figures, what do you comes to expect? So to get a reissue of an O-ring Zartan, hey, that's fantastic. And hopefully maybe it has a screw hole in the back this time. Maybe they retooled it. But also they mentioned here it's going to come with a RAVAGE with chain included. Now that's a throwback to a bunch of different things. Number one, it's a throwback to the original Devil's Due comic book in 2003, the old G.I. Joe versus Transformer crossover book. There was a convention exclusive cover for issue number 3 that had the Baroness with RAVAGE on a chain leash. So that kind of is a completist kind of thing, because if you pick up this one and you already got the Baroness from the Megatron, now you could kind of merge them together and reenact that scene. It seems to be very iconic because that issue cover came out, and then a couple years later, first 4 figures, they were going to do a statue that obviously didn't happen in the end. It went into kind of like production limbo. And then, of course, years later, we got that San Diego Comic-Con 2013 box set, the Epic Conclusion box set, which had that Jetfire repainted from the Sky Stalker set. And that also came with a Baroness, brandly new sculpted Baroness, with a RAVAGE on a chain leash. So it's kind of continuing that tradition, now doing it with the old school O-ring sculpts and molds. I'm curious which RAVAGE they're going to, maybe they might just take that old RAVAGE from that 2013 San Diego Comic-Con set. Maybe they'll give us a brand new sculpt. Maybe it'll be something that transforms. That'd be really cool. Nice little tape Ravage that's to scale with everything. We'll see what happens with that. But what's more fascinating is the fact that, you know, this time around we're getting 2 figures and a Ravage figure on top of the Soundwave. That's a really beefy package, considering the Megatron was just with the 1 Cobra figure and Baroness. The Bumblebee was just with the 1 figure and Stalker, aka Lorenzo. And now we have this one here, the Thunder Machine, which now comes with 2 figures and an extra character too. I wonder, is Soundwave going to be smaller? Is this going to be a larger, more expensive package? It's kind of interesting, because also historically, you know, and again, you know, the His Tank didn't come with Baroness. It came with a His Tank driver. So there's no reason, even from the Megatron outset, that it has to come with its original driver if it did have one. But the original Thunder Machine did come with Thrasher. That was one of the original characters, now called Thunder due to trademark issues. And then, of course, more famously, and this is where I'm kind of going like, oh, now it features 2 characters instead of 1, and it features Zartan Zarana. And I go like, oh man, I remember back in the day, because I never got the Thunder Machine, but I got its Street Fighter repaint, the Beast Blaster, in 1993. And that came with 2 figures. It came with Champion Edition Chun-Li and Champion Edition Blanca. So, I mean, maybe it's, you know, kind of also leaning into that more, you know, Street Fighter history where it came with 2 figures. But yeah, who knows? And again, because it's 2 Dreadnok characters that historically have been known for using disguises to get into places or infiltration, maybe that's what the teaser on the back of the Bumblebee box is suggesting. But then that would be jumping to Trooper 4. And if that's the case, what happened with Trooper 3? There's a lot of questions that need to be asked here. That's kind of bizarre. But that is the belief of what's going on here, is that this is going to be not our next G.I. Joe listing, but one that we will be getting in the future, and it will be Soundwave as the Thunder Machine. So that is pretty fascinating. What will we get after that? I don't know. Me personally, the way I look at it is they're going to tackle those legendary 7 characters. There's going to be an Optimus Prime at some point. We're going to probably see, you know, a Starscream is pretty much a given at this point. I think Starscream is like just any day now. Probably a Grimlock. I'm very curious to see what they would do with a Grimlock, even though it's very dino-based. Maybe they could use a more animal-based kind of G.I. Joe vehicle, like the Rhino, I guess, or something. I don't know. But it's just, it's very interesting to see where they'll probably go with that and the characters they choose. Because, you know, like a Shockwave tank again, maybe revisit that after doing that SDCC one. Who knows? There's a lot of different ideas. Let me know what you think. But again, hey, Soundwave, sure. I just hope it turns out well. I liked how the Megatron looked. I know that it was one of Jaws D's votes, and he really liked the Bumblebee also. So maybe the Soundwave will turn out well. I think at the end of the day, and this is more even for the Joe fans, getting an O-ring Zartan again is maybe the bigger deal, just because of how those old ones just are not repairable anymore. And if you're lucky to have one that the rubber hasn't already like crusted away and broken, hey, lucky for you, because I know my personal one, forget about it. So let me know what you think, guys. Pretty cool stuff otherwise, and hopefully we'll learn some more information on it later this week.